But 1983, what's the deal there, Pete? Are there any comparison?
Yes, there are great comparisons. That was a monster year. It's the reference that everybody uses as probably the best quarterback year ever.
Wow.
I'm here to tell you that it was unbelievable. It might be matched, and I say that because if you take a look at 1983, here's who was in the draft, and you'll people will know these names. You don't have to be that old to know these names. John Elway, he's in the Hall of Fame, won a couple of Super Bowls. Todd Blackledge, pretty damn good quarterback out of Penn State. Jim Kelly, well, he's up there in Buffalo for a long time. He's a Hall of Famer. Tony Eason, we used to call him Champagne Tony Eason when he went to the Rose Bowl. He did go to a Super Bowl, by the way, did not win. Ken O'Brien, who was around forever, it felt like. Dan Marino, another Hall of Famer. So that's a damn good class, right? 1983. Here's what we've got this year, though. Caleb Williams, he's already slated. He's the starter. Jaden Daniels is now slated. He's the starter. You've got Drake May, Patriots. He's going to be the starter. Penix, who's going to be competing with Kirk Cousins. Now, when I say that, he's not going to beat out Kirk Cousins necessarily, but is Cousins' ankle good enough? Is that Achilles good enough to be able to get out there? And if so, is he just a play away from being injured and all of a sudden Penix is in? Penix looks great, by the way. He has looked really, really good. And so he's another one. J.J. McCarthy, he's not going to play the rest of this year. He had an injury, unfortunately, with the Minnesota Vikings, but he looked great, Mark. So I've given you a lot of greats. Bo Nix, I'll give you the last one. And I think Bo Nix might be one of the best of all of them out of Oregon, plays for Denver. The head coach named him the starter now for the season as well. These guys are stepping in and ready to play. And a lot of these guys aren't 21 years old, Mark. A lot of these quarterbacks are coming in because of COVID and a lot of other things that were going on. They played 6-7 years of college football. They're 24 and 25 years old. Some of these
so
guys.
Crazy. It's such a crazy dynamic. What
it is. It's crazy. But all that being said, I would say this one stacks up pretty daggone good. Now, not one of these guys has played in a real game yet in their entire pro career, but I think you can go out on a little bit of a limb and say that's a damn good draft class that actually could end up looking and maybe even surpassing the 1983. 1983 was big. That was a monster. I was an 85 graduate, played in 86 my first year in the NFL, so I'm a little bit younger than those guys, but great players.
Yeah, so folks, if you'd like Pete to do the next Rebel's Edge wearing his 1983 hair and parachute pants and everything from that era, send in your cards and letters. We'll see if we can make that happen. Last thing I got for you on sports before we got to wrap, Pete. College playoffs, football playoffs. Any sleepers that you think are going to make in, speak to the final rounds?
I think that's the most fun part of it. We know how great Ohio State is, right? We always know of Alabama and Georgia. Georgia's number one in the country ranking as of right now. You've got the Oklahomas of the world, Texas. You've got Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, all the usual suspects, right? They're all lined up. But I thought it would be fun just to say, you know what? Not everybody is going to make it, and some folks might slide in there with a good year. I'm going to take two of them out there right now. I'm going to say Iowa gets in there. Iowa is so well coached. Every year they have one of the top. They're top five in just about every category defensively. Their biggest problem is offensively. They have a hard time, getting enough points on the board. But this is a Kirk Ferentz team that year in and year out wins 10 games. They get somewhere pretty far, but with this new structure, I think that team walks right into the playoffs. I think they do very well. And the West, which is no longer necessarily the West, but the Western part of the Big Ten, still a little bit weaker maybe than I think the Eastern side of the Big Ten. So I think that might play in their favor. They play a lot of the Western style teams. Anyway, that being said, Oklahoma State's another one. They've got their quarterback. Last year threw too many interceptions, didn't throw enough touchdowns, and he threw too many interceptions. But he's a heck of a quarterback. But they got a guy named Ollie Garden. Now, this guy is absolutely a killer. He's a 6'2", 225-pound guy, running back, who is the best running back right now, I think, in all of college football. But he's down there at Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State is going to surprise a lot of people, not just in the Big 12, but this is one of those teams where I think Oklahoma's no longer there. Texas is no longer there. I think Oklahoma State, they've got a lot of new schools coming in. I think that they can make a run at this thing and get 10 games themselves. Bowman, the quarterback, is good enough, and if he doesn't throw too many picks, that's a team that could be pretty scary and a nice sleeper into that playoff.
Man, I love it. Not just market intel, options trades, macro, but the kind of sports information we get. I was taking a lot of mental notes for my fantasy football lineup. Pete, amazing as always. I'm going to wrap it, if you don't mind, with a couple shameless plugs.
Yep.
Thanks as always, folks, for joining us for the Rebels Edge. We will be back, of course, tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. But in the meantime, go to our website, marketrebellion.com. You'll see a little pop-up banner there for the Mastermind. That's that October 11th live trading event. We are going to be trading during market hours, demonstrating 4 of our core and most successful strategies that made Pete and John famous. A lot of special guests coming, Grant Cardone, Tom Lee, a number of others to be announced. VIPs are going to be joining us for a special evening yacht cruise where we're going to show them the beautiful Miami skyline. This is a not to miss event. Of course, also want to remind folks, check out the Rebel Setup. That's our 8 to 9 a.m. live pre-market futures show with the great Steve Kalasian. Sign up for the Rebel Roundup. That's our daily newsletter. Comes out 5 days a week after the close, as well as the weekend update on Saturday that comes out with our great editor, Justin Nugent. So many incredible things going on at Market Rebellion. Thank you again for watching the Rebel's Edge. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Trade smarter.